Once again, it's time for the Team Lift podcast with your hosts, Brandon Bowie and Roderick McDaniel. Let's go ahead and get right into the show. Good morning, America. Well, I should say afternoon. It's a lovely Sunday afternoon, and we're back in the basement, and it's your boy, Roderick McDaniel, and
Brandon Bowie.
And we're coming back at you with the Team Lift podcast. Man, this is a good one. I'm feeling good. This July is hot. Today is not as hot as it normally is. Usually it's 100 and something. It's only like maybe 80 outside today.
It's like the difference between being inside of the oven and being next to the oven.
Yes, huge difference today. So I'm feeling real good about this episode. I think the weather helped me to come in not feeling so tired. But, man, we got a lot of topics to talk about. We do. Geek culture is having one of probably the greatest summers we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of geek culture is happy because of this one mobile game that just came out this past Wednesday. Pokemon Go. Are you playing?
No.
You're not playing?
No. I'm laughing at all the people who are playing because it's kind of hilarious to watch them do their thing.
Look, let me tell you something. Ever since Pokemon came, I was an adult when Pokemon came out. So I was one of those dads that watched the cartoon with his kids. Mm-hmm. Even I wanted to hunt Pokemon. I wanted a Pikachu in real life. I thought if my kids got out of line, I'd just have them shock the shit out of one of them and make them, the other kids would go, Daddy's using Pikachu on us. We better sit down somewhere. Yeah, you're right.
Have a place to plug in your phone on the go.
Yeah. Here, take this phone. Charge that Pikachu. I like the whole idea. So I've jumped in wholeheartedly into Pokemon Go along with the rest of America. And it's, I've been seeing a lot of stuff on social media. People are like, there's real horrible things going on in our country, and all my news feed on social media is, Black Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter and All Lives Matter and Pokemon Go. And I'll be honest with you, we know that the real world sucks. We've known for years that the real world sucks. So I'm pretty happy when I see Pokemon Go. Mm-hmm. I need something to distract me from how much the world sucks some days. So I'm wholeheartedly into this Pokemon Go thing. And if you're one of those people that wants everybody to be miserable all the time because you're miserable all the time, maybe you're part of the problem. I'm just saying. We probably lost 3 listeners right there when I said that. And we didn't want your negative asses in the first place. So no, let's get into this whole Pokemon Go thing. You turned me on to a story about it from our friends at Reddit.
Yeah.
This is so big that...
So within the first 48 hours of the game being out,
yes,
a young girl was going to a local water source and found a dead body.
Yes.
While trying to look for water Pokemon.
Which is...
it's
strange in and of itself. You're out, hey, look, man, I'm going down here. Go get me a Squirtle. Yeah, and you're going to get murder charges. No, I don't think anybody wants to go out, play Pokemon Go, and find a dead body. And they thought the body had been there for less than 24 hours, right?
Yeah, they actually, I think they deemed it a accidental death. So there was no charges or anything like that, but it was definitely pretty fucked up. I mean, if she was going to catch them all, she certainly caught one of the most interesting Pokemon ever.
Yeah, here's my question. If you check that story, you'll see where it said evidence located at the scene had led investigators to believe the man went into the water at the location he was found. So here's my thing. What was he doing there?
I don't know. Maybe he wanted to catch a water Pokemon.
That's what I started to wonder about. It's like there's no suicide note. Nothing's come out of it. You're just kind of like, was he there to catch a Squirtle and slipped? It didn't.
There was a Blastoise under the water. He had to go get him.
Here's my thing. If he was there to catch Pokemon, he died doing what he loved. So there's a bright end to this story. At least I'm trying to find it right now because that's just a disturbing ass story. When we saw it,
they say that every dark cloud has a silver lining, but millions of people die each year trying to find it.
Yeah, he may have found it with a Pokemon. No, this guy, because I downloaded the game Wednesday night. It came to iOS on a Wednesday night. So, bro, my calendar's all the way jacked up. So I'm thinking the 6th of July game came out. Mm-hmm. On that Thursday. The 7th, I'd heard about the dead body. That blew me away. It was like I hadn't even had the game on my phone 24 hours before I heard about dead body found trying to play Pokemon Go.
So we have the opposite of this story.
We do.
This is a happy story.
Now, this is the next part of Pokemon Go that is pretty freaking amazing to tell you how big it is in our capital, at the White House. The White House North Fountain has a gym. There's a Poke Gym there.
That gym has been taken over by a gentleman named
Boricua 88.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how to say that.
That's
so I'm glad you can.
Yeah, no, dude. Hey, Boricua, Bolena. That's to all my Puerto Rican fans and homies. Okay. But Boricua 88 he's level 15, and he took over the gym at the White House, and he has a Pidgeot named Merica. Which is the greatest freaking name for a Pidgeot ever. Merica. And his guardian Pokemon is basically, people were on there like, thanks, Obama. I mean, this is one time we get thanks to Obama, and it was really cool. I really like this one, man. This is a kind of a cool story. Now, we were talking about this. We know what kind of people are playing Pokemon Go. It's grown-ups with diminished senses of humor, like ours. How much longer do you think before we start seeing somebody do something they ain't got no business doing?
Well, see, this game is made by a company called Nitek Software, and they originally made a game called Ingress, which is it's the same type of game. It's geolocation-based. There are different places that you can take over, whether you're on one team or the other. And so they basically took that system from that game, and they applied it to Pokemon, and then they added finding Pokemon out in the wild, and they added in a AR element to it. So you actually see a Pokemon superimposed over your camera's input somewhere in the world. You can see the Pokemon, like you see it on your desk, you can see it out in the middle of the street. So the problem is that stupid people are going to follow their Pokemon out in the middle of the fucking road and get hit. That's what I'm waiting for.
I have a picture where I was downtown Austin Wednesday night. I had to perform. I had that show down there, performing with that crew. It was JC David and his JCTV, what they call it, Keep It Weird Wednesdays group. I got invited to be a host. And so I kind of went down there and hosted a hip-hop show, and it was a lot of fun. I did some stand-up, and I downloaded the game in the bar. That's where I caught my first Charmander. And later in the evening, I actually had to introduce an act and took off running, and I told the bartender, I will be right back. If anybody's looking for me, I'm going to just miss 2 songs. I'll be right back. I left out of the bar in a full sprint, ran 1 block over to 4th Street just so I can go catch a Weedle. And I was standing in the middle of 4th Street, downtown Austin, over by Oil Can Harry's, catching a Weedle. And people saw me with my phone, and like this one car stopped. It didn't even try to come near me. It was like, why is this guy taking pictures of me? And like, I wasn't even standing in the middle of the road. I was just looking weird, holding the phone up, flicking my finger, trying to catch, flicking Pokeballs at this thing. And it stopped some people's heads. They were kind of like, what?
Yeah.
People walked around me. This guy and his wife, I saw them. They walked they avoided. Big black man in the middle of 4th Street with his phone aimed at a car, flicking his finger at the screen. Let's walk around him. We're not quite sure what's going on over there. He may be special in a lot of special ways. They avoided me. So, but I'm in love with the game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. We got a lot of friends in the tech industry.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've seen over at the building where we know Nest and Google work, I've seen tons of their employees out there.
Walked out, so I left. I was going to go get some of my lunch. I went downstairs. I went over to my car. I literally watched a car pull up, literally parked illegally across 3 handicap spots so the motherfucker could catch a Pokemon and then drive away. And then the second that happened, I turned and looked, and I saw 4 of our coworkers wander out of this little forest area with their phones up, catching fucking Pokemon. I'm like, this is insanity. What is going on?
Bro, here's the thing.
You got to catch them all, apparently. That's the thing.
We're finally coming together as a country to catch invisible AR creatures.
Yep.
That's what's going to bring us together. It's not going to be our politics. It's not going to be religion. It's going to be invisible AR creatures called Pokemon. Because young, old, black, white, I've seen it all out there. Rich, poor, everybody in my small circle of friends in the tech industry is on this game. My Facebook feed is full of people playing this game. Mm-hmm. I'm one of those people. I'm really out there grinding away.
Hardcore.
Trying Trying. I would love to see a website where people would start reporting in, hey, over here, there's a lot of Charmanders in this neighborhood. Nobody has that website going on, but I'm hoping it's going to happen. Because, man, I'm loving everything about this game right now.
Well, one thing that Ingress had that I don't know if Pokemon Go has yet, but there is a website for Ingress where you can go and get on the Ingress style map of the world, and you can see where all the landmarks are for everything in that game. I'm hoping that they do something like that for Pokemon Go.
That would be awesome.
Because it's basically just the Google Maps interface with a new skin over it to give it the like Ingress look. And all of the like quote unquote like points in the game, like this church that's right next to my house is one of the points that's in the game. So somebody literally physically went over, took a picture of that place, gave a little description of it, of why they think that it should be included in the game as a landmark, and then submitted it to NITAC, and then they added it to the database. And then it becomes a control point in the game. And so that's probably where they got all of their control points for Pokemon Go. And so it could be that somebody could make a new landmark. Like we could make a landmark out of our work or whatever. And submit it, and then maybe at some point it'll show up on the map, and then if they actually release the bigger map, it may not be necessary for a third party to go in and create the site that you're talking about, because they'll just show us on the web.
I hope so, man, because I'm seeing there's a mosque up in Round Rock, and while I don't practice Islam, I was definitely down with Allah to try to catch a Charizard. I'm just going to be, me and Allah were riding shotgun on this Charizard. We were doing what had to be done to catch this Charizard. So I loved it. I'm definitely a fan of this. I'm really enjoying it. Let's keep moving on, though. We will be coming back to Pokemon Go over the next couple weeks, I'm sure, in this summer. One of the big things is we talk about on this show, we have subjects that we talk about, and we kind of tend to hate on them. We got both of those two in the news this week. No, two of the subjects that we talk about, we've talked about G2A and some of their sketchier practices, and we talk about Microsoft and some of their sketchier practices. They both did things this week that I think are pretty impressive, and I think they're feeling the heat. And I'm not saying they're feeling the heat because Team Lift listeners are putting the heat to them, but we did discuss these subjects on this show, and I'm glad that we were able to discuss what was going on, and now we're able to come back and update people. I want to talk about Microsoft. Now, one of the cool things about Microsoft right now is that they made an announcement this week, and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it this week if all future Microsoft published titles are going to be Play Anywhere titles?
Yeah, you're going to be able to play them on PC or on Xbox One, or the forthcoming Xbox One Scorpio whenever that gets released, I think in 2017.
Right.
So you'll be able to either just go on the Windows Store on your computer and buy the game, or go on the Microsoft Store on the Xbox One and buy the game. And so long as you buy it on one of those two places, you get it on both platforms.
So the digital copy is going to get you a PC as well as an Xbox console copy.
Exactly.
That is freaking awesome. We saw it announced at E3.
Well, we knew it was going to happen because Microsoft had announced a long time ago when they first were doing their Windows 10 stuff that Windows 10 was coming to all the platforms, and that they were going to be universal Windows apps, which were going to be apps that are going to be, you write it once and it runs anywhere on any piece of hardware that's from Microsoft, with the consoles being included in that. This is just them basically saying officially this is what is going to happen with all Microsoft Studio titles. So if it's a title that's being published by Microsoft from one of Microsoft Studios, so all of your Halo games, they're going to be on PC and they're going to be on Xbox.
That's a shocker, because now, I mean, Halo has always been a console pusher.
Yeah.
They use Halo to sell consoles, let's be honest. That is a reason people upgrade to get to this game. So now the fact that it's going to be a PC as well as console title, good on Microsoft.
Yeah.
Good on you. Give your customers what they want. Not everybody wants to play the console version, but you still have a lot of Halo fans. And I think that's great they're going to be able to get this on PC.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the guy on console playing against PC players, but hey, good on you, Microsoft. This is one time we can honestly say we like what they did. Now Microsoft does something else this week too, and we saw this. Now, we just talked about this maybe 3 episodes ago, and Microsoft was doing some pretty sketchy stuff to try to get people to move over to Windows 10. And one of the things we talked about was, when you see a pop-up box, you usually click the X and that shuts the box. Microsoft was recently sued. We talked about this on the show where the woman won a lawsuit against Microsoft and because it ruined her computer.
Yeah.
And she lost. And I guess she worked from home, and that computer was needed for her job.
She was a travel agent.
Yeah, so she was doing some things where it ruined her job. She lost income. So it really adversely affected her. And what we found out was that Microsoft said basically when you would get the pop-up box to upgrade to Windows 10, clicking on the X, to them, they were using that as they agreed.
Yep.
And we both know that's crooked. That means if I'm clicking on the X, that means I don't want to be bothered with this.
That means I'm closing the window. That means I'm closing the window. If I just hit the X, that means I'm closing the window. I'm canceling the window. I don't want the window. I don't want the thing.
Right.
Microsoft doesn't apparently know how to take no for an answer. So they were assuming that if you were clicking the X, you were agreeing to upgrade. Well, now they've decided to pull that change from the upgrade dialog boxes so that if you hit the X, it acts as cancel and not as okay.
Yes. And I like that. Because, I mean, yeah, I was glad. Maybe the lawsuit, that's one thing that did come out of the lawsuit. They changed this pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And we just talked about this. So I'm kind of glad to see Microsoft did two things in 1 week where we have to say, way to go, Microsoft. Way to go. You did something right. Another one of the big bads we really, really cannot stand on this show. We've talked about them. We've asked you not to support them. We've asked you not to use them. It's a company called G2A.
I think the A stands for assholes.
I really am starting to think that.
Games2assholes.com.
Yeah. We really don't like them. And the reason that we don't like G2A is we felt that they are a large part of the problem with stolen keys.
Stolen credit cards. They're also like, so people are now claiming that they're like a YouTube reviewer and they're emailing companies to try to get free keys for games, and then when they get the free key, they put the key up on G2A and sell it, which is some shady shit. It just makes it harder for legitimate sources to actually be able to come by press copies of games.
Right. And we understand this, that and G2A had to know a lot of the shady stuff that was going on, and they've been called out for it. And one of the biggest to call them out was the Punch Club publisher, Tiny Build, got into a high-profile issue with them because Tiny Build said, hey, they've sold millions of dollars of our product on there, and we've never got a penny of revenue from these sales.
Yeah, just a slice of their revenue for one of their games. I think it was like $450,000 was the high estimate on if the games were all sold at retail, how much they would have actually made off of those games versus how much they actually did make in that same period.
Right.
Because those keys were essentially stolen. So somebody steals a credit card, uses a credit card to buy a legitimate copy of the game, then puts the game up for sale on G2A and makes $20 off of it instead of the $40 that it would have cost for that retail version of the game. Thus, they lose the money there, and then whenever the actual sale gets refuted by the credit card owner, that money gets taken away from Tiny Build, and they've got to pay a fee on top of that for having to do that return.
Yeah.
And it's insanity, and it's people making money off the backs of other people's misery.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think we've kind of come to the idea that G2A was basically a money laundering operation. They harbored a lot of criminal activity on their site, and they allowed for a lot of criminal activity on their site. So in June, Microsoft supplied G2A with about over 550 game codes it believed were bought on a third-party site with stolen credit cards. G2A had said it was able to identify the keys and remove them from the auction. There's still an ongoing case against the seller, right? So G2A, you're getting caught doing dirty stuff, and we kind of came out on that. G2A, though, decided, hey, look, we really are kind of embroiled in some lecherous activities, and we're going to make it harder for you to be a crook on this site. And so they've done some pretty big things. I don't know if you kind of got into some of these big things that they've done, but what they're trying to do is legitimize their business. And since, all this criticism has been levied against them, I think some of the moves are going to be huge, okay? So one of them was that they are going to now limit how many items you can sell without having to be linked to like a social account. Like you have to be linked to
Yeah.
some kind of a social media account. So whether a Facebook account, Twitter account, they're asking for phone number verification. So you're going to have phone numbers connected to it. You're going to have to, you're going to basically have to say, who are you? And we should be able to verify who you are before you can come on here and ruin our gaming community, basically.
Who is your daddy?
Yeah.
And what does he do?
Yeah, which, if you're caught up in all the stuff they're doing, maybe some good questions to ask. Okay, so I really like that they're at least moving in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about it, though?
I think the only direction that they need to move is into bankruptcy and closing down.
You really just
I
do
don't
not like
them.
this.
I've had too many years of too much bullshit from G2A to ever think that they're going to be something legitimate at any point in the future.
Oh, man. Yeah, and you've told me some horror stories from, working in the video game industry and being around it. You've seen what they can do to companies and how they just, when a person, it's terrible enough when a person gets their identity stolen or they lose their credit card and then they got to go through proving that they didn't make the charges. We've worked around that and seen that happen to people close to us. You've worked on both ends of it, where you've seen it up close as one of the people that has to help a person with it.
Yeah, I've had to help the person to get their refunds and to get the chargebacks or to keep the chargebacks from happening, giving them refunds and whatnot from the publisher side of things. I've also had to go through onto individual accounts and pull keys off of accounts that were purchased from G2A that are illegitimate because we received chargebacks on the original purchases of them through third-party retailers. So we had to go turn the keys off, and that really sucks because then you're turning the key off and then basically waiting for the person to call you so that you can tell them, hey, we had to pull your key because your key was stolen. Yeah. And they're just like, what?
But I didn't steal it. No, but you bought it from a place where we can prove it was stolen.
But you bought stolen goods from a website that's illegitimate. Don't buy from there anymore.
Yeah. So, and it's and what we came to on our last show and a couple episodes ago, and if you've been listening to us from a while, you probably heard us talk about G2A. We've said this before. Nobody wins in this situation. The only person that won was the crook because he already got the money.
Well, the crook and G2A because they get a slice of the profits that the crook makes. So.
Yeah. So, there's two gamers that are upset. The person whose credit card was stolen and the person who ends up getting the game revoked off of their account.
Yep.
They lose. So it's no consumers winning in this one.
And then and the publisher also loses. The person who made the game loses because if a chargeback gets filed, they have to pay a fee. So for for two different people to get rich, 3 people have to get hurt.
Wow. That's definitely.
G2A makes money, the person who's selling the key makes money. The publisher, the person who bought it, and the person who had their credit card stolen all get fucked.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be following this over the next couple of weeks. I think I pretty much know where you stand. You would love for G2A to go out of business and to be no more. And I kind of understand that. I actually understand that. Another big thing, let's kind of get into this. We talked about Rebirth before. Rebirth being the DC Comics new lineup. DC is doing it big. Now, this is from the start of the month. So, here we are. It's already the 10th. But as of the 1st, these were the top 25 advanced reorder comics. And let me kind of get into this. Because what happened is DC Comics is doing a thing called DC Rebirth right now. So they're relaunching their comic universe. There are a lot of number ones going on, or comics have already relaunched, and there may be 3 or 4 issues deep at the most. There's variant editions of the covers. And then in addition to that, DC decides, hey, we're going to drop all of our comic book costs by $1. So now the average DC comic book goes for $2.99 compared to the $3.99 that you would pay to get a Marvel comic. Okay, so DC coming out for the jugular, and for the first time in a long time, we have not seen this. DC is dominating the top 25 in advanced orders. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to just do the top 10. So we know the number one advanced order right now is Justice League number 1. And number 2 would be Batman number 3. Number 3, the third place is going to go to Batgirl and the Birds of Prey Rebirth number 1. Then the Justice League variant number 1, that's in there. So we got Superman number 3 coming in at 5th place. Batman number 3 variant edition is 6. Seventh place goes to Hellblazer Rebirth #1. What is this? Eighth place, Green Arrow #3. And we finally get to ninth place before we see the first Marvel comic. And we've talked about this on the show before. Black Panther #1. And this is going to be a $4.99 third printing variant. We talked about how successful Black Panther is right now for Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Ta-Nehisi Coates is doing a bang-up job on that book, and we've told everybody, get in on this. This is going to be one of those epic runs in comic book history that we're going to be talking about 25 years from now. Ta-Nehisi Coates is really bringing the heat with this Black Panther. But we just went through the top 9, and the top 8 advanced reorders were all DC books. Mm-hmm. And then in 10th place, Green Lanterns #3. So out of the top 10, there's only one Marvel book in there, and that one Marvel book is a third printing of a #1 for Black Panther.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive. I don't see it slowing down right now. I know Rebirth #2 came out this past week. I want to say the Batman #2 came in there this past week. So DC is doing some huge stuff right now. Are you catching any of them? Trying to read any of it so far?
I kind of tend to wait for trade paperbacks.
Okay.
Because it's the same thing that I do with television. I don't like to watch a show usually while it's on the air. The exception of like maybe Flash, something I'll watch every week. Most of the time, I'll wait until a season is done, and then I'll sit down and
try to binge through it.
Try to binge through it.
Okay, yeah. I'm telling you right now, and maybe over the next couple of weeks, I could probably put together a list. I'm doing Batman. I'm doing the Batman collection. I'm reading it. I'm going to pick up Teen Titans. I'm probably going to read Titans. I'm going to collect some of this. I'm going to wait to see what happens with it. I really am liking everything that I'm seeing, though. I mean, DC has really come out with a great series. And I'm not knocking the whole Civil War II series from Marvel, because they're doing a great story. I bought the issue 1, and I liked what I saw. And Civil War is going to do has a big story that's coming up, and we're going to get into that later in the show anyway. But I really think DC has done something pretty special here. I think it's a great line. They got great writers on each one of these, and they're bringing the heat. So definitely would suggest picking them up if you've been following our show. We'll probably put something on here, about maybe a link to that so you guys can watch it. And we'll be watching it over the month of July to see what they do. Speaking of Marvel and Civil War, there's going to be some changes in the Iron Man book.
Oh, yeah.
Big changes in the Iron Man
kind
book.
of an understatement, I think.
Yeah, big changes are coming to Iron Man. One of the things that we saw that's coming out of the Iron Man book, and I'm going to tell you how big this is. I have a Murphy's Express gas station by my house in Round Rock. And the beauty of that is, they have that TV at the pump. So it shows sports clips from Sports Center and sports news and weather. It's a lot of stuff while you're getting gas. You can just kind of be entertained by TV. This story we're about to get into was on that pump this week when I filled up. And if you've been reading Civil War or following anything about it, we kind of know that it's already been announced. Time Magazine has already reported that at the end of the event, Tony Stark will be passing on the Iron Man mantle to a 15-year-old girl, black female named Riri Williams. And Riri looks good for a comic book character. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Riri is, she's a former MIT student. She's a genius. And what people don't know is that in the comic book, she reverse engineers her own Iron Man armor. She sees it, figures it out, and builds her own armor. And Tony is going through some things in the Civil War book. And I don't know if anybody's read it, but she is going to end up taking over his mantle for a while. Now, I'm not hearing that she's leaving the universe. Nobody said anything about Tony Stark leaving the Marvel universe, but she will be taking over in the Invincible Iron Man comic book that's coming up soon. So what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's going to be good. I'm hoping that they wind up... Like, all these changes that they're making in the comic book world, they're not making it into the cinematic universe, but at some point, we're going to have somebody take over for Iron Man. I mean, at some point our characters that we have in the movies are just going to get too old to be able to do the things that they do in the movies. They're just not going to want to do it anymore.
Right.
And we've got to have somebody to take over. Like, we've got Lady Thor now. We've got essentially Lady Iron Man. Some of the other characters have been changed as well. We've had several different iterations of Captain America, Steve Rogers and Falcon and Bucky Cap. So someone is going to have to take those places as well in the cinematic universe. And so they're basically laying these grounds in the comics so that when they make the changes later in the movies, people aren't like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
I think that's going to be good.
So you think it eventually will lead to the cinematic universe?
I'm hoping so.
All right. So you and I have kind of gotten into this about what we want to see coming out of that, out of the cinematic universe. One of your deepest wishes, and I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the show, and if we haven't, we really need to do a show about this one day where we let you go off about this. Blue Marvel is your favorite hero in the Marvel universe. I think I'm making an understatement saying that.
Yeah.
And you would love to see a Blue Marvel film. Mm-hmm. You said this many a times, and
or at least Blue Marvel being brought into the cinematic universe, because right now, if Thanos comes to Earth, there's other than, we have the combined might of all the heroes, but I don't think that the combined might of all the heroes is going to be enough to be able to defeat Thanos.
Unless you want to show all the heroes of the
literally
Marvel
all
universe
of them at the same time, getting in there. So I think that bringing in somebody like Blue Marvel would be a good move, because he's potentially as powerful as Thanos is. I mean, he's a man who's powered by an antimatter reactor, essentially, that's inside of him. He has the ability to be able to warp space and time. He's completely and utterly invulnerable. Like, he's on the same power level as, like, the older 1950s, 1960s cosmic Superman level powers.
Right. And he has a genius intellect that rivals some of the brains,
Reed
like
Richards.
the Reed Richards and Tony Stark of the Marvel Universe.
Exactly.
And really compelling story. And let's not forget he's African American. I mean, it's kind of hard to get over that fact that this is one of the most powerful figures in the Marvel Universe. Is a guy that doesn't even have his own ongoing series right now. But the stuff that we've seen, pretty powerful stuff.
I mean, he was essentially retconned into the Marvel Universe by them saying that he was operating back, I think it was either World War I or World War II.
Right.
Him and another guy got into this reactor meltdown that was happening because of an experiment that they were doing on nuclear energy. One became Blue Marvel, the other one became Ant-Man, and they kind of went at it for a little while. Blue Marvel defeated Ant-Man, destroyed him, and then he kind of got shelved by the U.S. government because of
America was not ready for a black man to be that powerful fighting for America.
And on top of that, the U.S. government was also worried that he might make things ferment even worse during the Civil Rights era.
Mm-hmm.
So he went into complete and utter seclusion. Like, he lives at the bottom of the Marianas Trench in a facility that he built, and he hangs out with the Submariner, and that's pretty much his only friend.
And we saw some of him, come into play in, like, the Mighty Avengers storyline, where we kind of saw Luke Cage and, a more Black Avengers, basically, storyline in the Mighty Avengers, where it was told from, hey, during the 70s, when Blade was around and still dressing in polyester and disco, and Luke Cage had been around for several years because he existed in the 40s, 1930s, 40s. So it was a cool story. I really liked the whole story that they did, and I thought Marvel took some gambles. They really are a comic line that will take gambles with characters that aren't white. I mean, they just seem to take more gambles with it and to really write them well. So I thought Blue Marvel could definitely be into that, but man, this Riri Williams storyline, I think this is next level big. We hadn't seen something like this since Miles Morales took over as Spider-Man.
And that's essentially the other thing too, is she's a 15-year-old girl, so she's kind of, they're putting her on the same level as Spider-Man. Spider-Man, when he started out, he's 15, 16 years old. He goes through, the bumblings of youth and then kind of grows up. So they're bringing the same effect that they had with Spider-Man when they first created him to a new character, and they're also reinventing a character at the same time.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be real interesting. I can't wait to see what they do. So right now we have a Korean Hulk, a young Korean Hulk running around. We have a black Spider-Man. We have a 15-year-old black female. It's about to be Iron Man, Captain America. We already know what's going on over there. It's that
Captain
whole
Marvel.
thing. Yeah, Miss Marvel. Now that Miss Marvel, yeah, we have Kamala Khan, and she's a
Muslim?
teenage Muslim. Yeah, so really, I mean, Marvel is really pulling on their ethnic background and their ethnic diversity, and they're bringing these characters to the forefront. And we've always had characters, like Rhodey. James Rhodes had been War Machine for years. So
the most important thing, though, is that at some point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we need Squirrel Girl.
The fact that Squirrel Girl has not been brought to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to me is that's a crime against humanity.
That's the only other hero that I can think of that could defeat Thanos.
The only hero that defeated Thanos single-handedly.
Yep.
Single-handedly. That is a lot of people, if you've not been reading the comic books, were saying this name and they're going, who the hell is Squirrel Girl?
Is a squirrel? Yeah,
Squirrel Girl is exactly what it sounds like. It is a young woman who kind of dresses.
She has the ability and the power to control all squirrels.
And she can talk to them, and they understand her.
They understand her.
And
she understands
her costume has a squirrel tail.
Imagine Aquaman, but a young girl with squirrels.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she really is. She's the Aquaman of squirrels.
Yep.
But she's powerful. Like,
unlike Aquaman.
You shut your mouth. Okay. DC haters. We're losing DC fans weekly every time you talk. We don't leave our show. We love you, DC fans. We do. But yeah, I think this is going to be really interesting. What's going to happen with Riri Williams? Have they said what issue she's going to show up in yet? I haven't heard. I know it's coming soon, and they're already kind of putting the news out about it, but does it say anything about what issue she's showing up in? Nothing?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so we just know it's coming at the end of Civil War.
Riri was first introduced to readers back in May's Invincible Iron Man #9.
So she's already in the story in issue 9, so I guess they've already brought her in. And eventually she's going to take it over.
Yep.
Okay, it's going to get good. This is getting good. We're going to definitely keep our eyes on this one. Man, next subject. One of my favorite things to do is called Pick Your Brain. We got some PC news coming up. I want to kind of get into your head about this one.
So it looks like, we've been talking about how Vive is basically dominating the VR market. There's some hard information out there. If you go to the Steam hardware survey, which is, you can easily find it on steampower.com. The HTC Vive is 66% of the total amount of headsets that have been turned on using Steam VR. The the Oculus is 27.75. That's for the CV1, and then there's another 6.25% of the headsets that are the older DK1 and DK2 Oculus dev kits. So right there, literally over half the VR market of headsets that have been connected to Steam are HTC Vives. They're Steam-powered headsets. So that's major.
Yeah, and this was news. What got me about these numbers were numbers from April 2016 to June 2016. Mm-hmm. These were huge numbers.
These numbers that we're looking up right now, yeah, April 16 to June 16, you're right. Sorry.
These are huge numbers for somebody to come in and say, hey, we tracked this on Steam, and 66%, yeah, Steam tracked this. 66% of the headsets that are out in the market right now are going to be the HTC Vive that are touching our system. And we had talked about how Vive was dominating Oculus. Mm-hmm. And
now we have numbers to back it up.
We have real serious numbers. We wanted you to know there were numbers. It is, like we say, steampowered.com /HW survey, which means hardware survey. Yes. You can go to store.steampowered.com and you can find these numbers. We may even try to get this on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
We'll put this on the Facebook page and get this to people. But, man, this is a huge story because we've been talking about, the Vive. You've jumped in and bought a Vive. I came over one night, jumped in the Vive with you. I've had my VR experience.
So what I think I'm gonna do here in the house is I've got some. I've been noticing I keep sticking my hand in the fan. Can't keep doing that. So I think I'm gonna wind up rearranging my whole living room to get a situation where I have some continuous space without anything directly above me.
Right.
And that's a real concern. Like if you're setting up a Vive in your house, don't set it up underneath a fan. Don't set it up underneath a light or anything that hangs down from the ceiling, because as much as you know in the back of your head that there's something above you and you shouldn't stick your hand up there, in some game you're gonna fucking do it. You're gonna smack.
You will forget where you are.
Totally.
I did. I was playing. What was the game? And I told you, oh, this reminds me of something like out of Portal.
Yeah, it's you were playing in the one that's essentially like Angry Birds, where you take the cores and you shoot them at the boxes.
Oh, well, I did that one, and then I did the one Long Shot was in that, and it was a long bow, and you know, bow and arrow. And I know Valve makes that game, and I cannot think of it. The Valve test place. Or
It's
Valve.
the lab is what it's
The
called.
lab, yeah. And if you are on Steam, if you have a Steam account and you have the HTC Vive, my first recommendation is to get the lab. It is definitely. It's almost as fun as Wii Sports was when it came out. It is the kind of game where it changes what you thought you knew about gaming.
Yeah.
And it's really one of those things that I personally 100% behind the lab, man, love it. A lot of people we've seen on PC Perspective, another great website, they've talked about this whole story too. So we definitely are going to, I think VR is here to stay, and we're going to be covering it a lot on our show. We'll be getting into that some more. Another one that came into notice or into news this week, System Shock. Coming through for a kind of revival, I guess we can say.
So System Shock, there's a studio that's called Night Dive Studios, and it's made up of a good amount of the people who used to work at Looking Glass.
Right. And
so they decided that the first game that they want to do, rather than making a new game in the System Shock series or making a System Shock 3, they are going to be completely and utterly redoing the original System Shock from the ground up. And along with their Kickstarter, they've also released a playable alpha of the game to give you an idea of what they're doing. And it is fucking brilliant. Like, they literally just took the original game and they've just completely updated, overhauled the graphics, overhauled the sound. Everything, start to finish, is just brilliant with it. They're now fully funded. They were only asking for $900,000. They're at $936,236. And they still have 17 days to go as of today, which I believe is the 10th.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to be contributing to this one if I can at some point. Like, if within the next 17 days, if I'm able to, I will be contributing to it, because System Shock is one of the best games ever. If it wasn't for System Shock and System Shock 2, you wouldn't have Deus Ex, you wouldn't have BioShock, you wouldn't have Thief, you wouldn't have Dishonored. Like, all of those games came from Looking Glass Studio, coming together, making the originals, and then dissipating, and then that talent dispersing throughout the greater game studio landscape. So the people who were at Looking Glass, eventually, when they left Looking Glass, some of them went to the studio that created Deus Ex, and then some of those people that created Deus Ex left and went to another studio here in town, and they created Dishonored. And then some of those people went, like Kevin Levine went and created BioShock.
And everything with the BioShock. I mean, Kevin, great writer, just the BioShock. I mean, BioShock's even getting a remastered for the Gen 4 consoles. So when we talk about a genre-defining game, System Shock was 94, okay? And here it is, 2016, and we're still seeing the effects of a game from 1994, the effects of it on the marketplace.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about, like, the genesis of the first-person RPG. This is one of those genesises.
Right.
This is like, at the time that it came out, it was amazing because it had a point-and-click interface for a first-person action RPG.
Mm-hmm.
So it combined both of those elements. So, like, when you play, I don't know, Skyrim, and you tab open your inventory, and you've got all of your inventory is listed there, and you can click on it and manipulate things. All of that comes from System Shock. All of that comes from that game and the games that were from that studio in that era. And Looking Glass Studio was kind of all over the map. They did a whole bunch of different types of things, but this genre of first-person RPGs, that's their contribution to everything.
Right.
Gaming.
All right. And there's Night Dive Studios, and, man, congratulations to them. I mean, just congratulations to them. They've done a wonderful job. I'm glad to see what they're doing. Definitely keep us posted, man. If you're going to if you're going to put money behind this one, I know you'll kind of keep us up to date on what's going to happen with this one. And it seems like you're seeing at Kickstarter.com, it's got, 7 more days? 17 days to go.
More days.
So we got 17 days to go. If you guys hear this, you want to get in on it, definitely would recommend giving in to this. I don't think you'll be disappointed by what they're going to bring out. I don't think there's a way to be disappointed.
Before you make a decision on whether or not you want to even contribute to the campaign, download the demo. It's on Steam. It's on GOG. It's on the Humble Bundle store. You can download a copy of the alpha and play through it. It's about 15-20 minutes worth of gameplay, but it gives you a really good idea of where they're going with this remake and how things are going to look. And it's brilliant. It's fucking brilliant.
Wow. Awesome, man. Awesome. Definitely. Thanks for bringing that story to us this week, man. Sad news. I hate talking about this, man. And especially, being in the industry, I got a dear friend of mine from Plainview, Texas. When I was up there managing GameStops, he was my assistant manager, and he left to go get his degree in video game artwork. That's what he does. He does, like character designs and backgrounds. He does that kind of stuff. And he went to a company that, let's face it, sometimes companies, they come and they go. And some companies are only as good as their next big game. All right. And so when you see this happen online, you hate it. I hate it. But Turbine, and these guys were they were behind the Lord of the Rings Online,
Dungeons and Dragons Online.
Yeah, so they did some
sizable games.
Yeah,
but they're being downsized. They're having a number of layoffs at the moment, and they're going to be converted into a mobile only free to play studio. So we're probably talking like a studio that was maybe 150 people is probably going to be like 15 or 20 people
at the most.
If they're lucky.
Yeah, if they're lucky. So, when you transition to free to play mobile development studio, I know a lot of you guys listening may not understand this. Not a big team. We know for a fact that there are some mobile games that we've been connected to or have friends working on, and the team is 12 guys. And one of the guys that does the graphics is also the public relations guy.
Yeah.
Like, these are small studios, and they wear multiple hats. And so I always hate when I hear somebody in the industry is losing their job, man. But, we here at Team Lift, our hearts go out to you. We're wishing you nothing but the best. We want you to land on your feet no matter where you go. And thanks for the great games, man. Thank you for the games that you have done. Let's go ahead. We're going to keep it on this PC kind of tip. Samsung, new headset.
Oh, yeah.
New team came out with this one. The C Labs is a team, I guess, that works at Samsung, the C Labs team.
They're R&D. So they've essentially, they are going to be debuting, it looks like, South by Southwest. Seems like it's an older thing because it's from March 14th.
Right.
But I guess I missed this back in the day, but I found it just recently. They have made a headset for not visual headset, but just headphones.
Headphones, yes.
That
work in conjunction with your VR headset.
Yeah, they work in conjunction with your VR headset to try to stop motion sickness. So essentially, these headphones trick your inner ear into thinking that you're moving when you're not moving. So that if you engage in moving that's not actually you standing up and walking, but if you're standing and your character moves, you don't feel sick like say if you have a gamepad and you're pushing forward on the gamepad to walk forward,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get sick because your inner ear thinks that you're actually moving even though you're not.
Right. And so it does it by sending these electrical pulses, I guess, to the eardrum or electromagnetic field to track the movement of your hands. But what kills me is they're called the Intrum 4D is the name of the headphones. And man, these guys at C Labs are, and when I say C Labs, I don't want everybody to think I'm saying C as in SEA. I mean the letter C, Labs.
Yeah.
Okay. And these guys, I mean, they say it uses tiny electrical impulses basically to stimulate your vestibular system, the sensory system of your inner ear that controls your sense of balance and inertia, into thinking you're moving when you're not. Freaking next level genius is what we're talking about.
So there's this VR space that's called Alt Space, where you can just kind of go in and just talk to other people. So there's two different types of locomotion. You can teleport, or you can use like a gamepad to move forward. I've used the gamepad to move around, and it is a very jarring experience. Like you know that feeling when you're going up in an elevator and it stops real fast, or you're going down an elevator, your stomach gets all wobbly. That's what you feel like when you're moving with the gamepad, when your body's not physically moving. And this is what it eliminates.
Well, I did that one. That was one that you let me
Yeah.
play the first time. And remember, I was doing the maze game, and I freaked out. Remember, I jumped because I thought I'd ran into a wall, and my body really reacted as if I had run into a wall. When I was standing in the middle of your living room, there was no wall there, but I still reacted the same way. I think that headset would have probably, and I get that feeling, we called it your VR legs, where you kind of feel a little seasick, you're a little wobbly, it's a great feeling, but it's a legal high. But it was one of those things where you came out of it, you kind of got to sit still for a while and just let your brain and your eyes and your ears kind of stabilize again to that you're out of the VR world and back in the real world.
That's one of the things is like that feeling, I don't get that anymore.
You've been playing quite a bit though.
Yeah.
You've been playing. I didn't play as much as you, so I still was getting that little legal high thing. Here's what I see. They said they've tested this as safe. 1,500 human guinea pigs, so 1,500 people tested this thing, which I don't even know how you sign up for that.
Looks like they were testing this at South by Southwest on people. Like they were letting them demo it at South by Southwest earlier this year when it was still going on.
Wow, that's something else. We're going to have to definitely keep up with this headset. Hadn't seen it hit the market, but definitely want to be in on that one when it hits. Something you think you'll probably buy?
If it works the way that it's advertised, I'm definitely down.
All right, man. And we are we went through some stuff so quickly. I got one more subject before we get out of here this week. It's on a near and dear subject to us. One of our favorite hero films in the last, I'd say, 2 years was Deadpool. I think it was safe to say that we really, really enjoyed Deadpool, and we really enjoyed Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. His Instagram got hot, and not because he's a really just wickedly good-looking man. Alluded to Deadpool number 2, the sequel, and it's a very funny picture, and it's an official picture, IMAX, Mutant 101, Marvel, 20th Century Fox. I mean, you could tell this is the official teaser poster for Deadpool, and it hints at Wolverine and Professor X, as well as the X-Men being in the film.
Yeah.
Which we kind of got an idea with. At the end of the film, I don't know if you've seen Deadpool, but if you stay after the credits, he kind of talks about there will be a part 2, and it alluded to Cable. And most people that saw that were...
Stephen Lang. It needs to be Stephen Lang.
We are going to get into that.
Needs to be
We are
Stephen
going to
Lang.
get into the top 4 actors that can be Cable.
That's the only guy.
Kevin Nash.
No.
I saw that Kevin Nash, and when I
is not
saw
an
him, I was
actor.
just like, he has the body for Cable, but does he have the acting chops? Where Stephen
doesn't.
Lang Stephen Lang's a menacing guy. Stephen Lang's in a new horror movie that's coming out later this year called Don't Breathe. And if you get a chance to see that trailer,
if you see that trailer, that's if he just does that as Cable,
we would be blown away because he looks menacing.
Yeah.
In Don't Breathe. And I jumped on the Stephen Lang bandwagon after that. I'm not gonna lie. There were 4 names that we always see: Ron Perlman, was one of the names.
No.
Stephen Lang was the name. Kevin Nash was the name.
I wouldn't be upset if it was Ron Perlman, but I don't think Ron Perlman should do it.
No, Stephen Lang has gone on record and said, I want to do it.
He's already training to do it. Like he's just like, I'm training to do this already.
Just in case you guys
happening.
want me. Yeah. But he wants that role, and he's not playing around about it. I think that's going to be big. Man, there was so much stuff I wanted to get into. We're going to have to come back next week. We're going to have to bring in a new episode. We're going to have to talk about some things. Saw some stuff going on with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., possibly Ghost Rider. We got some Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans out there. Been some word in the street about a Left 4 Dead 3.
Captain America is getting a 13-foot tall statue that's going to stand up in the middle of Brooklyn.
Yeah, there's some stuff going on in Geek. This is a Geek summer. So we got things that we want to talk to you guys about, and we're going to be always hyped about it, bringing it to you. But we're running out of time here. Once again, we want to thank you guys for listening. You can always follow us on @GoTeamLift on Twitter. You can also follow us on our personal pages @Thiazide as well as @CoachSilky. Questions, suggestions for the show. We honestly do read all the email and suggestions we get. I definitely share this with you. We have some great times with people that listen to the show. In fact, that's why we're going to be doing a Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, because another one of our super fans, Katie, has hit us with this, and Katie's a Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. super fan.
Yeah.
And she has some theories that we're going to share on the show here in the coming weeks. We're going to definitely get into that one. So there's some things we want to talk about. But, man, some things coming up. Another big thing coming up, July 25th. You got tickets to go see The Killing Joke.
Oh, yeah.
Draft House?
Draft House.
Alamo Draft House? So
Draft House Village is the only draft house in the city who's going to have the show. And they're having 3 of them, a 7, a 10, and a midnight. And I'm going to the midnight show.
Yeah, you got one of the last 5 tickets that were left.
Yeah,
for
so the only thing left was the front row.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the middle of the front row. And I mean, the front row at the Draft House is not like the front row at any other theater. You're a good 20 feet away from the screen.
You're not going to have. There's no bad seats in the Draft House theater.
No bad seats.
All right, so yeah, even I sit on the side of the second row at the Movie House and Eatery here in Austin. Never a bad seat in that theater. Never have I seen a bad seat in that theater. So, yeah, we're going to get into that. We're going to definitely, in the coming weeks, I want to talk to you about that and what's going on with that show. So, once again, guys, we thank you. Hit us up at our email, goteamlift @gmail.com. And we want to thank you guys for listening. Catch you in the Geek Universe next week. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Team Lift Podcast with your hosts, Brendan Bowie and Roderick McDaniel. Join us again next week as we discuss more topics from geek culture. Be sure to follow us on our Twitter page @GoTeamLift, as well as our personal pages @CoachSilky and @Thiazide. You can direct questions and comments to us on our Twitter page, as well as find links to all of our social media outlets. Thank you for listening. See you again next week.